Can you move from South Africa to the UK on a very tight budget? Yes, you can. In this video, I'm going to share a list of tips on exactly how you can do this. This first tip is the best way to get financial help with your move because it is essentially free cash in your pocket. This is to find an employer that offers relocation funds. The amount you receive will depend on the employer, but you can use these funds to cover your flights from South Africa, which is obviously a big cost. You can also use it for various other transport, accommodation for the first few months, shipping things over from South Africa. Only thing you can't use the relocation funds for is to pay for a visa. One of the biggest lump sum costs that you'll have to pay quite early on in your move is for flights from South Africa. There are two ways that you can try and save some money on this. Firstly, you want to look at the time of the year that you are flying and avoid any peak holiday times. Definitely don't fly over the UK summertime or Christmas, and try to stick to off-peak months rather, because then you will definitely find some cheaper flights. Secondly, you want to set up alerts for any flight deals to the UK, and you want to do this on as many flight ticket websites as possible. A very popular one here in the UK that we use is Skyscanner, but make sure you use more than one website to definitely get that deal. Let's talk about all the stuff that you own in South Africa. This is a great opportunity to get rid of anything that you haven't used in a while, because chances are if you haven't used it in South Africa, you're not going to use it in the UK. Anything that you're not using, you can try and sell that for some extra cash that can go towards your move. And remember that most things can be replaced once you're over here, so try to only keep things that are sentimental or just too expensive to replace. Your cheapest option for sending things over to the UK is going to be to just use the baggage allowance that you get with your flights. Some airlines like Qatar are now offering 2 bags per person to take on the flight. So you can always use 1 bag for clothes and 1 bag for household items or anything that's sentimental. This is the cheapest option, but I know it's not that realistic if you're planning to move over to the UK long term. So the next option would be to just add extra baggage to your flight. If that's still not going to cover it, maybe you have some big items that needs to come over, then you'll have to look at containers. This is if you are moving furniture, electronics, closets of clothes, kitchenware. But just know this is going to be a lot more expensive than just adding bags to the flight. Luckily, there are 2 container options, one of them being more affordable than the other. The most affordable option when shipping things over in a container is to use a shared container. This means that your belongings are added to a container with other people's belongings as well, so you don't have to cover the cost of that entire container. The only downside to the shared container is that you don't know exactly when it's going to be shipped out to the UK, because they obviously have to wait for the entire container to be filled up first to make it cost effective for them. This means that you could be without your stuff for a couple of months once you arrive in the UK, but you still have the baggage that you can take on the flight, so you can always pack all your essentials in there that will cover you in the months while you're waiting for the other stuff to arrive in the container. Another cost that you want to think about during your move is your accommodation in the UK once you arrive there. It's possible it would be great if you can stay with family or friends just for those first few months as you're settling in, building up your funds again. But obviously not everybody has a connection in the UK. So if you can't stay with anyone, the most affordable option would be to look at staying in a shared Airbnb. The reason why I'm suggesting a shared Airbnb is because then the cost is significantly lower. You'll still have a private room, but then you'll just have to share the communal spaces like potentially the bathroom, the kitchen. A shared Airbnb is still going to be a lot better than staying in a hotel. Firstly, it's going to be a lot cheaper, and because you have access to a kitchen, you won't have to eat out every night or every day, because believe me when I say eating out in the UK is very expensive. So you definitely want to be able to cook your own food. If you want to jump straight into renting a place, an affordable option here would also be to rent a room in a flat, so then you'll be able to split the bills with roommates. Once you have arrived in the UK, it is probably going to be financially tough for the first few months. Even if you come over with savings, the transition can still be difficult because of the rand to the British pound exchange rate. It just feels like your money doesn't get you very far. If you experience this, I just want you to know that this time will pass. You just need time to build up your pounds. And I think it's a completely normal thing to go through. We certainly went through that. So let me give you a few extra tips to help you through this while you're settling in. If you need to start buying things like furniture, homeware, or clothes immediately, definitely go for second-hand options. Second-hand shopping is huge in the UK. There are so many second-hand charity shops and also a lot of online options like using Facebook Marketplace, eBay, Vinted, and you can find some amazing deals if you just take your time to work through all the options. This is going to be especially useful for winter clothes because I'm sorry to break it to you, but your South African winter clothes will not get you through a UK winter. This is another level of cold. You need some really thick sweaters, well-insulated jackets, thermal clothes, and luckily you can find all of these items secondhand, and it's going to be so much more affordable than trying to buy it brand new at a shop. The next tip while you're settling in is to cook at home as much as possible and avoid eating out. As I mentioned, restaurants and fast food in the UK is very expensive, but on the other hand, groceries are quite affordable if you shop at places like Aldi, Lidl, Sainsbury's, Tesco's. I personally shop at Tesco's, and with the club card you can get some amazing deals every week. I also know that you probably don't want to just be stuck at home. You just moved to a new country, you want to explore, but you might feel like you don't have the budget to go out and do things. But luckily for you, the UK has so many free, really cool things to do. Most of the museums are free. There's amazing parks to visit, historical sites to go to. There will be a time that you can go and do all the more expensive touristy things, but there are really some great free hidden gems to find in the UK. Chances are you're probably going to be using public transport. If there's a route that you are frequently using or mode of transport that you're frequently using, try and see if they have transport passes. Usually you can find a pass for a set period or a set amount of trips, and it usually works out that each trip is a bit cheaper if you use the pass rather than just paying for each trip individually. That wraps up this video. I hope you found these tips helpful for moving on a budget to the UK. If you are looking for any other specific tips about moving over here, just let me know in the comments and I can look at making a new video. Also, if you found the tips helpful, please consider giving the video a like down below. It just helps to get the video out there a bit more. All the best with your move, and thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video.